So in this episode of the 10-minute podcast, I am going to be discussing Pochettino's potential move to Manchester United, why United still seem to be struggling under Rangnick as of recent, and the origins of the macro problems at Manchester United at the minute. But before I break everything down in more detail, let me tell you about today's sponsor, OneFootball, which is my go-to football app for the news and results updates that I need, as well as player transfer news and following everything with Manchester United right now. I would say that it's the most convenient place to find out what's going on in the football world, as sometimes when I'm on Twitter or Instagram, I spend ages trying to find different news items, whereas OneFootball has it all in one place. They've also got highlights from different leagues around the world, as well as other video football content as well. And the best part is that it's completely free to download. A link will be left in the description below, and by downloading the app you would be helping to support the channel as well. So there has been conflicting reports over Pochettino's potential move to Manchester United over recent days, with some reports saying that he's likely to reject Manchester United in favour of Real Madrid, and others still sort of suggesting that Manchester United are still interested and that he is their number one target, and that talks are still ongoing, so it's still unclear exactly what the situation is. But I do see it being between either Manchester United or Real Madrid in terms of where Pochettino will go next, and that's simply because those two are the biggest clubs in the world, and they are the two who will be looking for managers at the end of the season. Manchester United definitely will be, and Real Madrid under Ancelotti, it does seem likely that they will as well. So it's no surprise that both clubs are in for Pochettino. But where would Pochettino want to go himself? Well, I still think it would be Manchester United, and the reason I think this is because I think at Manchester United he realises that he's not going to be judged on one season, whereas he is at PSG and at Real Madrid. He's solely going to be judged on whether he can win the Champions League at PSG, which obviously is a tricky task, as most managers, even Thomas Tuchel, Carlo Ancelotti before, have all found out. So I think Pochettino understands this. He understands how managers are judged, particularly at clubs like PSG and Real Madrid. Real Madrid's going to be the same sort of environment. He's going to have to deal with big name players. He's going to be expected to win the Champions League as well. And I think he might just look at the situation at Manchester United as it is a problem for the club at the minute, but is an opportunity for him. If he were to come into Manchester United, say after Mourinho's second season, when Manchester United was second, finished behind Manchester City, then the only expectation from there is to challenge or win the Premier League. However, now with United looking more and more unlikely as the weeks go on to miss out on top four on Champions League football and finish outside the top four this year, that means that even if Pochettino was to finish second or third and not even compete for the title next season, that's still a massive improvement from where United currently are. And what this does, it kind of takes the pressure off. It builds that momentum, which is pretty hard to build at PSG, because as soon as you have one loss, it does sort of get depicted as a bit of a crisis. Even when PSG are comfortably at the top of Ligue 1, they're going pretty well in the Champions League as well. They've just beaten Real Madrid 1-0 over in the first leg, and you would probably put them as favourites to get through the whole tie. They did have Manchester City in their group stage, so it's understandable that they weren't exactly dominant in that stage, because Manchester City are probably the best side in remaining in the Champions League, along with PSG and along with Liverpool as well. So I think that if the money is right, if the terms and the agreements about what happens in the transfer market all suit Pochettino, I think he would probably prefer to take the job of Manchester United over Real Madrid, but that's only just my opinion if I had to put money on it. But what are the actual problems at Manchester United that do need to be solved? Well, in terms of the short term, I know that the problems do stem back way before Rangnick, but we are just going to talk about Rangnick for this segment. When he did come in originally, the system did look a bit ropey. It looked like there wasn't really that much coordination when they were moving the attack forward. However, he did adapt it, moving to the 4-2-3-1 and then to the 4-3-3, which I definitely think suits Manchester United a lot better, particularly with Paul Pogba coming into the side. But I don't think it's the tactics or the system that I would question from Rangnick. I think it's, first of all, it was team selection when he just consistently kept picking Harry Maguire. And now it seems like he's that Diego Dallos fallen out of favour. And to me, I couldn't understand Wan-Bissaka's selection on Saturday against Watford. Rangnick would have known that Watford are going to sit deep, that United are going to have a lot of the ball in the attacking areas of the flanks, and therefore delivery from the flanks is going to be very important. A lot of people were quick to say that Dallos crossing isn't actually that good, and I would agree that it's not top level like someone like Robertson or Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I can't believe anyone would say that Diego Dalot's crossing is not significantly better than Wan-Bissaka's, or at least he's dribbling and his ability to progress the ball. Wan-Bissaka is a liability in possession. I can understand selecting him maybe against a side like Manchester City, maybe against Liverpool, maybe against someone like Newcastle to go up against Saint-Maximin. But in a game where you know you're going to control possession, where you're going to need a lot of offensive output from your wide players and particularly from your fullbacks, it seemed like a questionable decision for Rangnick to make, and it didn't work out. But they did create United's problem on Saturday particularly, and throughout the last few weeks, I think they've recorded pretty high XGs against Southampton and Watford. I think it was 2.99 against Southampton, 2.41 maybe against Watford, something along those lines. So United are creating chances, they're just not finishing them. And the problem is both Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo just seem to have completely fallen out of form. Bruno Fernandes missed 2 or 3 big chances against Watford on Saturday, and Ronaldo as well just didn't have that clinical finishing that we saw from him at the start of the season. And I think United are over-relying on those two to score goals. The likes of Sancho, Rashford, Elanga. I know Elanga's been pretty good recently in terms of his finishing, but those attacking midfielders, other than Fernandes and Ronaldo, do need to increase their finishing ability, just to take off the pressure. United can't keep having 5 or 6 big chances in the game and not taking them, because obviously it's just going to come back to hurt you. And that's really why United have been dropping points. Against Brighton, they were pretty fortunate that Ronaldo bailed them out. And then Lewis Dunk obviously got the sending off, but they didn't even look that convincing in that game either. So the problem for United, even though they are stemming from the form of their attacking players, I don't think there's much criticism you can really give to Rangnick in terms of the system, apart from his team selection, his consistent selection of Harry Maguire over recent weeks, which I think everyone agrees was the wrong decision. And it did cost Manchester United in recent games against Atletico Madrid and other games previous to that. So that's why I would question Rangnick. He did drop Maguire for the game against Watford. It's still unclear whether that's going to be a thing he continues with. And I think if he does revert back to having Maguire at centre-back, then I don't think I can really give him credit for dropping him in the first place, because Maguire's proved that it's not form, it's been a sustained period of decline, and same with Marcus Rashford as well. And that's the issue for United. They've got too many of their attacking players all out of form at once. I'd say the only player who's really in form at the moment is Jadon Sancho and Paul Pogba. But even those two aren't in goal-scoring form, it's more as creative outlets. But United's problems aren't just recent, they aren't just since Rangnick's come in. Everyone obviously knows this. It stems back all the way from the Ferguson era. I think after that, I think everyone agrees David Moyes was the wrong appointment after Ferguson, and it really just wrecked the mentality of the club. If you listen to what Rio Ferdinand has to say about Moyes, you can kind of understand how the philosophy of Manchester United at Ferguson pretty much died a quick death under Moyes. But then United did have the opportunity to then reappoint someone and gain that back. They appointed Louis van Gaal, but I think they just didn't understand the importance of the personality of a manager, because Van Gaal, in his own way, was completely destructive to United's mentality, and he really turned them away from a side challenging for the title and into a team challenging for the top 4. And so when Mourinho came in, I think Mourinho would have done significantly better if he had replaced Alex Ferguson and not had those two managers in between, because when Mourinho came along in 2016, it seemed like the philosophy of the club had changed significantly, and Mourinho probably wasn't the best choice either. He was on a decline similar to Van Gaal, and those two personalities just really wreaked havoc with the squad. And I think that led to Manchester United overcompensating, but then going for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who from all reports seemed to be a bit of a soft touch, seemed to be more of a supply teacher, someone who didn't really have the authority that a manager like Van Gaal or Mourinho would have had. And I think because his tenure went on for far too long, a lot longer than it should have gone on, it sort of reinstated a mentality, but not the mentality of Ferguson and Roy Keane and Ronaldo before, but one of sort of reminded me a lot of Arsenal under the later days at Arsene Wenger, where it was okay to finish 3rd and 4th, and it was okay to go through long spells of poor form as long as you recovered. And Champions League was completely out of the equation. under Solskjaer. It was just a good thing to like get to the knockout stages, and I think that has been the problem. The Solskjaer era definitely damaged United for the long term, and you're seeing it, the results of it, as like players seemingly unhappy with Rangnick's training. You could understand that if they were winning leagues, but Rangnick came in when United weren't even challenging for the top four really. So you can't really be throwing your toys out the pram if you weren't performing before the new manager came in. And I think that's just the effect of having managers that have come in, destroyed the mentality of the club with their personalities, and then United overcompensated with Solskjaer, and I think they are the origins of the problems that United now have. So let me know what you think about Pochettino, what you think about the current situation, and what you think about the origins of the whole issues at United. They obviously a lot of people are going to say the board, and I would agree. But specifically, what do you think? Let me know in the comments section below.